A scientist is hurriedly deleting files and research. He then realizes that his access to the system has been revoked as alarms blare. Hurriedly he leaves the building. He gets home and realizes that someone has been thrashing around in his office looking for something. Next we see the scientist and his wife leaving their son Peter at home alone. They are on a private jet where the man tells his wife that they left Peter because they are now wanted, but she is in tears. At that moment, a suspicious attendant entered the cabin and pulls a gun, demanding the information he has been working on, but secretly the scientist is transferring the files to an anonymous person. The man grabs a parachute and is ready to abandon them when a struggle breaks out and the wife ends up getting shot. The scientist finally knocks out the hitman and tries to help her into her seat. She reminds him about the files, and he resumes the transfer. The hitman is back on his feet. This time the pilot is accidentally shot, sending the plane into a tailspin. The scientist struggles the gun away from the hitman and shoots the windows, causing the pressure to suck him from the plane. In his final moments, he ensures the files are sent as he and his wife plummet to their deaths. In the next scene, we see Spider-Man, happily swinging through the city of New York, showing off his acrobatics, wondering what the day has in store for him. A news chopper nearby reports about a hijacking of an Oscorp armored van and he is on the chase. Downtown, a gang is towing the armored van, wrecking police cars along the way, all while breaking into back to steal a stash of radioactive plutonium-238. Spider-Man turns up and begins to taunt the driver. In the distance, a nerdy-looking man has dropped his papers and is about to be crushed when Spider-Man swings in and saves him in time. The shocked man, Max, is starstruck, surprised that the hero took the time to look out for him. Spider-Man reassures him that he is important and that they are friends, before resuming his chase of the thieves. The robbers try carefully removing the plutonium, but the truck ends up crashing, surrounded by police cars. The men open fire at the cops before they are webbed and left hanging to be arrested. The driver takes off. The plutonium goes flying, but Spider-Man grabs them in time with some stunning moves. He manages to grab the last vial before getting a call from Gwen. She is at her graduation and Peter is late. She goes up to give her valedictorian speech. Meanwhile, Spider-Man catches back up with the truck trying to break the glass to stop the rampaging driver. The truck ends up hitting a bus filled with people, forcing Spider-Man to use his body to stop it from crashing into a man and his daughter. The driver jumps from the truck, firing his gun at Spider-Man, who skillfully evades and disarms him, leaving him tied up for the cops. Peter makes it just in time to graduation and gives Gwen a celebratory kiss on stage. Afterwards, Aunt May congratulates him on graduating, wishing that Uncle Ben could be there. Peter and Gwen get some time alone and they plan for a date later on at 8, which Peter promises to be at. Gwen runs off to have a family photo and Peter imagines seeing Gwen's father staring back at him, remembering his promise to him to leave Gwen out of his superhero life. Later, Peter turns up to his dinner with Gwen but does not go inside. Gwen sees the distress on Peter and realizes that he is worried about the promise he made to her father. He is torn between his love for Gwen and keeping her out of danger. Gwen is tired of Peter's worrying and their on and off relationship and breaks up with him there, leaving him in tears. The following day, Peter is back in costume doing his usual rounds in the busy city. He drops in to protect a bullied boy and walks with him back home. We then see Spider-Man going through his routines, saving and interacting with the people of New York, all while news reporters speak of the dangers of vigilantism, and if Spider-Man is actually a menace to the city. Despite all the backlash, Spider-Man never ceases to put himself in the line of danger to save people. Next we see Max preparing for work. Turns out he has lost a few screws, as he has an imaginary conversation with Spider-Man, imagining that Spider-Man is his best friend, even making him cake for his birthday. But at that moment, a breaker fails and the lights go out. He heads over to his job at the Oscorp building where he works as an electrical engineer. On his way up he meets Gwen in the elevator. They see a news report of Spider-Man and he tells her how Spider-Man saved his life. We see Harry Osborn returning home to visit his dying father. The two argue until Norman tells him that the sickness he is dying from is genetic, calling it the Osborn curse. Norman gives Harry a hard drive with all his life's work, telling him to finish it and live. The news breaks about the death of Norman, and Harry being appointed the new CEO. At Oscorp, everyone is getting to leave early, but Max's boss tells him to stay behind and fix an issue with a generator, despite it being his birthday. Max heads back up to the lab where genetically modified electric eels are being used to generate electricity. There happens to be a wire out of place and Max climbs above the tank of eels to take a look. The power cannot be shut off because everyone has already left, so Max takes the chance to reconnect the live wires and gets electrocuted and falls into the tank of eels. They surround him, filling him with power until the tank explodes. Harry is meeting with the board of the company. When Peter comes by to talk about his father's passing, But Harry tells him he's busy with a meeting and Peter turns to leave. Harry then cracks a joke at him and the two laugh and decide to hang out for the rest of the day. Peter tells Harry about Gwen and his relationship, but while the two talk, some men listen to them in a van nearby, one who turns out to be a member of the Oscorp board, planning to take Harry down and take control of the company. He learns about Max but plans to keep it under wraps to use as blackmail later. Max's body jumps alive, with blue electricity running through his body. Terrified, he puts on a hoodie and stumbles out of the building. Peter gets a text from Gwen and walks headfirst into traffic to get to her. She tells him that she wants them to try being friends and Peter agrees and they go for ice cream. Max walks out into the streets, causing the lights on the streets and cars to go crazy. He can see the energy flowing underground and he heads towards the city. Peter is enjoying the moment with Gwen and is hopeful about their relationship when she breaks the news that she is moving to England on a scholarship. Peter has no time to react as his spider senses go off and he pulls a Batman on Gwen. Max makes it to the busy city and begins to draw power from the cable under the street. A police officer tries to arrest him, causing Max to step out into the street and flip a truck with his electric powers. He is quickly surrounded by police as the people run for safety. Max begs them to stop and listen to him as he is broadcasted all over the city. He stares at himself, finally seeing himself in the spotlight with all eyes on him just like Spider-Man. The police deploy tear gas to neutralize him, but Max angrily causes a huge explosion, blasting the police cars away. The police open fire at Max, but his powers stop the bullets from hitting him. The police stop firing as Spider-Man tries talking to Max, but realizes that his powers are going out of control and could harm a group of people nearby. Peter recognizes Max and he tries to talk him down as a sniper sets up nearby. The sniper opens fire, causing Max to unleash his powers, blasting Spider-Man back and frying his web shooters. All the attention then goes back to Spider-Man and the people begin to throw insults at Max. He gets angry and unleashes his powers, causing Spider-Man to jump in and save the people with impressive moves. The two battle until Spider-Man throws Max into a nearby building. Seeing that he needs more power, Max grabs loose cables and begins to absorb the electricity, releasing a devastating blast of electricity that crushes the buildings nearby. Now fully charged, Max realizes that he can fly, and begins to fire electric blasts at the people below him. A blast of water depowers him and knocks him out as Spider-Man returned with a team of firefighters. He then leaves Gwen in the street and returns home. With a lot on his mind, he decides to distract himself by beginning to investigate his parents' disappearance. He collects articles and news clippings, deciding to solve it. Harry is at his office when he accidentally unlocks the files that his father has been working on, including an advanced suit. He also sees a video with both Peter's father and Norman discussing their experiment with spiders. Peter decides to work on his web-slinger to make it electric-proof. After many mistakes and accidents, he gets it fixed and gets a call from Harry asking him to come over. At the Oscorp office, Harry shows Peter the video of his father and Norman. Harry realizes that Spider-Man was bitten by one of the spiders and needs his blood to help him heal himself as he is dying. Peter doubts that Spider-Man's blood will help Harry. Harry is determined. He does not realize that Peter is Spider-Man but thinks that Peter can lead him to the web crawler. Meanwhile, Gwen is at work looking up information on Max, but her search is blocked by security who begin to go after her. Harry begs Peter to help him as he does not want to end up like his father, and Peter says he'll try to find Spider-Man. He is leaving the office when he bumps into Gwen, who pulls him into a room. After the security pass, she tells him about a possible Oscorp cover-up of Max's accident. Peter then steps out to distract the guards as Gwen makes a clean getaway. Turns out that Harry is on the same elevator with her and he recognizes her, and they talk about Peter before she leaves. We see Max being held in an institute as a doctor begins to experiment on him. Max begins to power up, saying that his name is Electro, but the doctors lower him back into a tank of water, powering him down. At home, Aunt May sees the news clippings and Peter asks her to tell him about his parents. Aunt May refuses, as she spent her life shielding him from that horror and does not want to hurt him. Peter tells her that he needs to know, so Aunt May reveals that the government told her that his father was a traitor, who stole government secrets and ran off with them to sell, leaving Peter in shock. Peter, as Spider-Man, turns up at Harry's office. Harry is excited, but Spider-Man tells him that he cannot give him his blood. Harry gets upset and demands he help to save his life, but Spider-Man leaves. Peter finds Gwen, telling her that everything about his parents was a lie. He tries to talk, but Gwen is late for her final interview for moving to England, so Peter hesitantly wishes her luck. He heads back home and begins to smash his father's stuff, until he finds a clue leading to a closed underground rail station. Harry is at his office when his assistant Felicia comes in. She informs him about a hidden project where scientists extracted the mutated spider's venom and stored them. Harry logs back into the company files and sees videos of Max entered under his name. Security then barge into the office along with the board member, accusing Harry of covering up Max's accident. Peter heads to the closed underground railway station and finds the platform from his clue. He uses a token from his father's belongings which reveals a train rising from the tracks. Inside, the train is transformed into a lab. Peter heads to a nearby computer and sees a video of his father explaining what really happened. Meanwhile, Harry breaks into the mental institute and makes his way to where Max is being held. He wakes Max up and strikes a deal. He will release Max to get revenge on Spider-Man after Max helps him get into Oscorp. The security sees Harry and run to arrest him as he pleads for Max to help him. Max powers up and disappears, knocking out the guards before reforming himself. The two then plan to get Spider-Man. Max appears in the Oscorp office, killing a guard. Harry walks in and confronts the board member, ordering him to lead him to the spider venom. Harry leads the man to a secret room and has him inject the spider venom into his body. Harry falls to the ground in pain as his body begins to transform. Before him, he sees the super suit and crawls over to it, and it bonds with his nervous system. Gwen is in traffic when she sees a sign created by Peter saying "I love you." She gets out and he snatches her up and brings her to the top of a bridge. He tells her that he loves her and he plans to move with her to England as he cannot let her go. At that moment, all the lights in the city begin to go out as Max begins to absorb all the power. Peter does not have a plan to deal with Max, until Gwen gives him the idea to magnetize his shooters. They use a jumper cable from a police car to magnetize his suit somehow and he heads off to face Electro. Peter dodges an attack and tries to use water but Electro repels the water. The two battle with Peter's suit absorbing the attacks. Electro then begins to throw Peter around and traps him with electricity until a police car crashes into him. It is Gwen and she wants to help, citing that she knows the specs to the grid and could reset it. Peter plans to overload Max and he hesitantly sends Gwen off before seeing another vision of her father. He and Electro begin to battle once more, which sends his spider senses into overdrive. Max manages to trap Spider-Man using his power, but Spider-Man uses webs to create a circuit as Gwen resets the power which causes Max to overload and explode. Peter stands in pain as Gwen comes out to him but just then Harry flies in on a glider between them laughing madly. He realizes that Spider-Man is Peter and is mad that Peter refused him. He grabs Gwen and flies away with Peter chasing after him. Harry flies Gwen high into the sky and drops her, but Peter grabs her just in time. Harry flies in to fight Peter. The two battle causing Gwen to fall from a clock tower. Peter tries to hold on to her with his web, but his struggle with Harry causes his web to snap. Gwen falls from the great height with Peter diving after her. He catches her with his web but not before she hits the ground hard. Peter jumps down to hold her and cries when he realizes that she is gone. Peter and Aunt May attend Gwen's funeral and we see him visit the grave almost every day. Back in the mental institute, we see a shadowy figure coming to speak with Harry, who is planning an escape using criminals as a distraction. Peter sits and watches Gwen's valedictorian speech, taking it as his motivation to move on and put on back the Spider-Man costume and return to helping people. Downtown, an escaped convict wearing a rhino costume has robbed a bank and is wrecking the cops trying to stop him. He introduces himself as Rhino before a little boy runs out wearing a Spider-Man costume. Peter shows up behind the boy, sending him back to his mother. Rhino charges at Peter who dives into action to defeat him. Remember to turn on notifications, so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.